Hello, beauties. Today is the day of the full moon. The full moon is that once in a moon cycle day. And a moon cycle is about 29 and a half days long. It's that one day where the moon is reflecting maximum amount of light down on the earth. So if you've ever been outside on the night of a full moon, somewhere where there's maybe not so much electricity, you'll see that you get to look at the land and everything moving around with this kind of cool lighting. It's like, in my opinion, the most beautiful lighting is that night of the full moon. And you just see the land draped in this cool light. And so in a sense, it allows you to look at the landscape, look at the land, and see it, but see it in a very different way than you normally see, let's say, at, high noon. So it offers a different perspective of the same space. So I wanted to make this full moon offering to encourage you to utilize this day. And I know that, when it was 1 million years ago in the year 2019, when many of us who are in a constant sort of like creative cycle, we're making gatherings, we're making offerings, whatever, we're making art, we're making music, and we're looking to 2020, and you'd see 2020 on, like, let's say like a festival poster or an event, something 2020, everything was something 2020, 2020, 2020, and you couldn't help but think about the the vision aspect, the idea that the perfect vision is 2020, wherein you can see totally crisply and clearly far away and close up 2020 vision. And as I'm sitting here today, making this full moon offering for you, I can't help but think that the moment we're in with COVID-19 and the multitude of ramifications of COVID-19 on all of our lives, and of course, each and every one of us is having a very sort of distinct experience. And there's a broad spectrum in terms of the human family of what people are experiencing right now. But I think one of the things, no matter whatever your vantage point is there can be new clarity. We're seeing something, like we're seeing, let's say, the government's response. And, just like, it's like a test. This is a test on the strength of our structures. And it's like a pressure that that's being put on all of our systems. And so in that pressure, you kind of learn what works and what doesn't work. You learn a lot about the structure itself by seeing how it fares under pressure. So you can look at that in the macro and you can look at that in the micro. So our collective life together and our personal lives inside of our own homes. So I wanted to just call that in as like this is an opportunity. 2020 full moon seems like a good time to kind of strengthen the visionary muscle, which is able to see clearly. And if you're up for that, what I would suggest beginning with is actually a breath practice. So breath practices, you'll see over, you'll find breath practices over like most spiritual, especially mystical traditions. They'll work with the breath in some way. So for us, on the path of the wild woman or the wild one, the wild being, who are constantly looking to nature, I want to offer you just something to think about as you breathe. So there's a way in which you can see the breath cycle, which goes from empty, it fills up, it's full, our lung capacity, and then we let our breath go on the exhale, and then it's empty again, and it goes around and around like that. which of course it finds a natural mirror in so many places in the natural world, but definitely in the moon cycle, right? So you can see once you exhale, and most of us don't get truly empty, and that's a good, when you're doing a breath practice, seeing how empty you can get. Taking just that moment, that's the new moon part of the breath. And then as you inhale, it's the waxing, it's the building, it's the coming to light. And then you have this moment of being full. It's not a long time. It's just a moment, just like today, the full moon. It's just a moment. It's just a day. And you hold it, not for long. And then you let it go. You wane, 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 wane. And the waning and the waxing part of the breath really mirror each other in length. They should be about the same length. So if you decide to sit down for this full moon, I encourage you to sit down and breathe with this in mind, really feeling the emptiness and that being like the new moon. And then inhaling, that's the moon waxing. Top of the inhale is that full moon peak. And then as you exhale, you're waning, you're re-emptying. And then you get to do it over and over and over again. And so you could set a timer and do this for 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 13 minutes, whatever you want, your choice. But the breath in this way not only does the amazing thing that breath always does when we pay attention to it, which is it kind of slows us down, gets us in the present. And in this way, to look at, you can feel the way in which we are intrinsically connected to the natural world. Intrinsically. And the intelligence of the natural world is moving inside of us because we are part of nature all the time, all the time, all the time. Nature is fundamentally resilient. So this is a powerful thing to do at this time. Okay, so you can sit down, do whatever you want, have a breath, have some moon breath. And then when you decide to finish breathing, you can ask yourself, what is really coming into the light for me? What am I seeing with new eyes? What is really pulling my curiosity? And write that down in your journal and see if you can choose one thing, just one thing that's like, for whatever reason at this time, you're like very interested in how maybe something works or how to do something or how something's been done in the past. And it could be anything from, the personal stuff in your home, to larger things that have to do with the macro level of being. It doesn't matter, but just choose one, and one that you feel like really calls to you. And then make a little list on this day of the full moon. Minimum 3 items on the list. And ask yourself, what can I do to learn more, know more, tune into this more? Maybe there's a particular expert that you can start to follow, read, watch. Maybe you have a really good friend who knows something about this and you can schedule a phone call with them. Maybe, you want to spend some time meditating on it and in a state of contemplation about it and journaling about it so you can really sort of source your own inner guidance around it. And it might be helpful to do all of those things, And if you like, you can invite someone that a friend or a family member, that you think might be interested in the same thing and say, hey, for the next couple of weeks, do you want to look into this with me? And that could add a sense of community and a sense of the much needed thing of human interaction right now. And it gives you a playmate. So, you could do that with one person or a few people. So I encourage you this new moon 2020, to really think, what's in the light now? Take some time to breathe with it. Take some time to contemplate. Make a list. And we're going to be going deeper into this whole thing of sort of strengthening our visionary muscle in Wild Woman School next week on the 16th. So I hope you will join me live online for what I like to think of as like a community ritual. Okay. Full moon beams to you. Love ya.